What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is Arrow Season 7, Episode 13, Star City Slayer. So many secret siblings in this show, guys. Like, so many times you were like, oh my gosh, this person's definitely only got one or two siblings, right? Nope, they've got more. Now, this one was a lot more obvious to me, though. Like, I didn't say it in the review, but I had a feeling that this girl, this Black Star or whatever, was going to be related to Felicity in some way. Mainly just because she was blonde, and we have so many, like, relations in the future. We found out Diggle's son is apparently working with her as well, so, as soon as I found that out, I'm like, oh yeah, she's definitely Felicity's daughter. So I guess it's Felicity and Oliver's daughter, more than likely, unless Felicity decided to go. I don't know. I doubt it, but we'll see. But yeah, so the flash forward stuff, we didn't really learn much else aside from that. They just, Black Star and Diggle's son capture them. Mia's their name. I'm gonna remember that. But they capture the group, and then Diggle's son Connor comes in, and he's all like, hey, did you figure out the Archer stuff? And then, of course, because he left Dinah and Roy alone for a few seconds, that means they're able to escape from their bonds and fight. So, not much really happened there. We still don't really know why everything that's happening is happening. But, yeah, as far as this episode is concerned, I liked it. It was fun. The notes I talked about, that one guy who was collecting all of the vigilantes' masks and stuff, I wondered if he had something to do with the notes, but then of course we see at the beginning of this episode the person who's been sending out the notes has sent out some more, and I don't know, I totally forgot about Stanley. Like, ever since the episode where Oliver got out of prison and Stanley escaped, I forgot about him. I really did. And then all of a sudden, like, it didn't even occur to me until they get into his house, and then they see the slab side, the clothing or the inmate uniform, and I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. I think I know who this guy is. And I don't know, I liked getting to learn about who he really was. Learning that he has done this before, why he was so obsessed with, like, getting close to Oliver. It all made sense. Like, going back now and thinking about those episodes where he did find Oliver in the prison, honestly, I almost kind of wonder if he got sent to prison on purpose just so he could be close with Oliver. I want to know, and I'm not even sure. I don't think they mentioned that. I don't remember if they said anything about that, but I kind of figured that's probably what happened. Like, he even wrote in his book, he said, see you soon. So I'm pretty sure he probably got himself arrested. If they said that and I missed it, whoops. But yeah, that's what I think probably happened. But yeah, it was interesting to see. He was so obsessed with Oliver. He wanted to be his best friend, to protect him. And so after he got out of prison, he thought all these friends that he did have were bad for him. And so that's why he wanted to kill them all. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story, and I don't know. I liked what they did with it. I'm glad that Stanley did have another story after getting out of prison. And like I said, whenever he did escape, I figured it was going to be something like this, where he was just going to be a one-off villain. But a pretty compelling one at that. I'm glad he didn't turn out to be like, oh, we're facing off against Stanley for the rest of the season, because he's not that compelling of a villain, but he is interesting to sort of throw in there, and all of a sudden, people are getting these notes, and you're just like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, they get into his house. And we did find out, because I didn't say anything about it, but I did notice the scar that Dinah has in the future. And honestly, I kind of thought, like, that's been there before, right? But I never actually looked in the present episode, or the present part of the episodes, to see if she does have that scar. I just assumed it was, like, something to do with her canary cry, like, why she's able to use it. There was something that went there that allowed her to use it. But no, I think actually the reason we haven't seen her use the canary cry in the future, at least I don't think we have, is because she can't anymore, because of what Stanley did, slashing her throat. I think that's the phone call that Felicity got at the end. It's not, oh, she's dying, or oh, she can never speak again, because obviously she can. I think it's the fact that she's lost her ability to use the canary cry, which is pretty interesting. I don't know why they decided to take away her ability to canary cry so early on. But But yeah, I'll see. I guess we'll see what they decide to do with it. I think it's going to affect her quite a bit. Just dealing with the loss of what made her a vigilante to begin with. I mean, she still can fight, of course, but without the canary cry, like that's the one thing that kind of put her above compared to the rest of the team. Aside from that, the two parts of this episode that really annoyed me. First of all, we get more William and Oliver drama, which I don't. I didn't like it when they were doing this when he first moved in with Oliver and Felicity, and dealing with the fact that he has a dad that he never met and his mom died. They did this whole family drama thing, and Oliver had to sneak out and be the Green Arrow because he didn't want William to know that's what he was doing. So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of them fighting, and this one is no exception. It's just, it feels like he's being a bratty kid. Ironically enough, it feels better than Nora being a brat in some of her episodes because Nora's an adult, so she shouldn't be acting like this. But William, it makes sense for him to act like this because he is a kid and he is kind of rebelling because he feels like Oliver and Felicity were in the wrong. So it makes sense why he's upset. I personally just don't want to see it in an Arrow, I don't want to watch this show to see family drama. That's not what I come here for. I come here to see awesome action and compelling characters and storylines, which actually we've gotten this season, and then they throw this in again. I'm just like, ugh, really? You got to deal with them yelling at each other, and ultimately he does decide to move in with his grandparents, which is weird because he talks about Oliver and Felicity walking out on his life. So I guess that might happen later. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But at least they don't have to deal with that drama for at least now. But the drama that did pop back up in this episode again is Curtis. And sure enough, yeah, we got to deal with him taking the moral high ground again. And I'm better than Argus. You're threatening to kill people. You're sending people out there with bombs in their necks to complete missions. How dare you? How dare you? It's like whenever he questioned Oliver's decisions. Like, dude, you have no right to take the moral high ground. It's like, yeah, great. You have the moral high ground. Well, guess what you're not doing, though? You're not getting anything done. Sometimes that's what the show's done very well, is that it's shown that sometimes you have to make these decisions that are hard decisions to be able to accomplish what you need to get done to save lives. But it's like for him, he just thinks, oh, you're doing these horrible things to these horrible people. Well, that makes you no better than them. Well, no, they're not doing it to hurt people. They're doing it to help people. So that does make them better than the criminals that they're doing this to. That's what really frustrates me about whenever Curtis gets on his little moral high horse and thinks he's better than everybody else. And whenever Diggle's talking to him at the end, he's like, we're gonna miss you. We wish you could have stuck around. And he tried to offer him that better job and stuff to keep him around. Just like, who cares? I don't care anymore about him. I'm glad I hope he's off the show because he says he's taking a job in DC. I hope he's just off the show. I'm sick of having to deal with this holier than thou. Like, oh, how dare you do this? You're wrong. You're so wrong. It's coming from a guy who, first of all, has no business telling anybody that they're wrong because you're way down the food chain. Like, leadership potential, Curtis, way down here. But that's the thing, is that he doesn't belong in this show. And I've said this before, like, his type of humor feels different than the rest of the show. His morals don't fit in with anybody in this show. Like, he's a character that doesn't belong here. And it's not in a fun way, like with Manchester Black on Supergirl. He's a character that doesn't really fit in, but that's kind of the point, is he doesn't fit in. He wants to do things his own way, and it's a darker, grittier way of doing it, and it completely contrasts with Supergirl, but that's the point, is they clash because of their morals. With Curtis, it's like he's there to tell everybody why they're wrong. And that's it. He has no other point. It's not like his morals clash. It's not like he's a compelling character that actually makes people think about what they're doing, like what Diggle did with Oliver in the first couple seasons. He's just there to be the moral center. Because, guys, we're all human, right? Equality He's basically the political agenda pusher in all of these episodes, and that's all he is. And he's just not an interesting character to do that with. Like, you've not given him anything else other than just a bunch of speeches about why people who are in the morally ambiguous areas, like, they're wrong. That's about his only purpose on the show. So yeah, I'm glad he's off if he is, because I was already fed up with them. They put him in the back seat, they put him on the computers, and he was fine for a while because of that. But then all of a sudden, these past few episodes, whenever they started talking about, putting the bombs in the back of the necks again, all of a sudden he became the same old Curtis that I absolutely despised for however long he's been around. I think the past couple seasons. So anyway, with that being said, though, that's it for this episode. Now on to the next one. See you there in a sec. Now episode 14. Brothers and sisters. Oh my god. What are the writers smoking? I'll tell you what they're smoking. They're smoking some good Felicity. Because tell you what, there's nothing better than Felicity, guys. She's the best. You can't question her. But when she questions you, you better listen. But you can't question her because she's never wrong, right? Ow, it's been so long. It's been so long since I've raged like this. Okay. So, let's talk about why Felicity is the worst again. First of all, it cracks me up because Oliver's sitting here talking about how he's not going to question her. He's not going to judge what she does when she's thinking about killing Diaz. However, every time he makes a decision, oh, you bet your ass she's going to be right behind him questioning his every freaking move. Because she's always right? She can do whatever the freak she wants, but whenever Oliver does something, no, Felicity's got to tell him why he's wrong. Because Felicity's the best, guys. She's always the best. She's always right. Never question her. And then, to put the little cherry on top, she decides to take Diaz in instead of killing him. And Diggle decides to go help her instead of going after Dante, which, by the way, great job. He got away. And he's just like, yeah, I know. I saw what it meant to you last year whenever I couldn't take Diaz in. I'm like, first of all, I thought we already talked about this, John, or at least I did in my review. You weren't going to bring Diaz in. You were not going to bring Diaz in. Not only was it Diaz plus the other two, but how are you going to bring him in while also keeping hold? Like, it was you, not just versus Diaz. It was you versus Diaz, the big man with the shield, and then the woman with the darts. You were lucky you got away with what they were going for, whatever drive or whatever they were going for. Like, you were lucky to get away with that. And you're now telling me that you let him go? Come on. Don't be stupid. Don't be arrogant and egotistical saying like, oh yeah, I had him, but I let him go because it was more important about the disc. No. You let him go because if you didn't, you would have died and they would have gotten the drive or whatever. I don't even remember what it was now. I think it was a drive. But that's what I'm talking about, though. That's what this show does that pisses me off. It'll do stuff like this, where clearly Felicity is wrong. She's wrong a lot, but nobody questions her. It's like they put the little kid gloves on for her. They're like, oh, Felicity, no, honey, no, you're okay. You're right. You want to kill Diaz? That's fine. You go be a murderer, even though you've told me several times not to be. You're fine. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The amount of times that the writers just want to convince us, guys, Felicity is awesome, don't question it. It's like, I can't even think of a good comparison of what it is. It's just, I mean, honestly, the best thing I can think of, like I said, it's like a parent putting the kid gloves on for their kid, like, oh, you're okay. You're good, Felicity. You're such a badass. Yeah. You go out there, you kill Diaz. You do it, girl. You do you. So, Felicity is the only thing bringing the show down right now. Curtis is gone, William's gone, although do find it weird because he did talk to, in the future, flash forwards, he talked to Mia about this, and he says that Oliver and Felicity just dropped him out of their life after he went to live with his grandparents. We saw very clearly Oliver filling up his voicemail box trying to contact him at the beginning of this episode. So were the grandparents just hiding that from him? Is that what's going on? Like the grandparents are actually keeping him away from Oliver and Felicity? So, and for some reason he thinks, oh, they just don't want to see me. But I don't know if we'd ever find out about that or not. I don't know. It's just something that whenever he said that, I'm like, oh, so they'd never see him again after this. But Oliver's clearly trying to get in contact with him. I'm confused. But yeah, we find out Felicity's pregnant. She's hiding that from Oliver for some reason because she's always right, guys. So she must have a good reason. Don't question it. We also see Dante for the first time, and seems pretty solid as a villain. Like he actually seems like he's a good villain, not in the same way Diaz is. Like Diaz just inexplicably has all this power and this ability to like take on all these people. We find out that apparently Dante's been the one helping Diaz, so maybe that's why they're finally giving us a reason, like he's been working for Dante for so long, and he talked about the debt that he owes him and all that. But yeah, ultimately Dante, I mean, he's pretty intimidating just from that first fight scene, like very quickly just kills off Director Bell, which of course Director Bell was the inside guy. I mean, come on. Of course he was. If he wasn't, I would have been shocked. But then also kills off whoever that princess was. I wasn't really paying attention whenever they talked about what she was doing there. But then, Oliver tries to take him on, and he pretty much whips Oliver. Like, Oliver gets a few hits in, but he's better than Oliver in a fight. And then it seems like, oh, maybe he's stopped. Lila showed up with a gun, and Oliver's there with the bow. But no, he quickly whips out the knives, which he apparently has an endless supply of, somehow. But yeah, he's very, very good in a fight. And apparently he has a lot of power and a lot of people working under him already. Like, this isn't something like Diaz all of a sudden getting control of the city inexplicably. This is a guy who is established. And they've already kind of teased him a little bit, building up to this moment where we finally see him. Like, even Diaz is scared of him. And I'm just like, okay, this is how you build up a villain properly. Not like Diaz, where it looks like it's one villain, but then it turns out that villain got betrayed by this villain, and all of a sudden he's in charge of everything out of nowhere. Like, that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. You tease him, you have Arias talking about him, he's the big target. Even some of the people working above Lila don't want them looking into it, so it seems like he might have connections with the government. John is going to lose his job because of the whole Ghost initiative. And then on top of that, Diaz gets killed. I'm assuming it's by somebody who is working for Dante. I highly doubt after Felicity didn't kill him there that she would then go and kill him like this. It could be Laurel too, but if I had to guess, it's probably somebody working for Dante, worried that like Dante's just like, well, he might talk, so we'll just get rid of him. But I guess we'll find out. But it was a pretty intense way to go, like turning on the sprinklers filled with, I guess, gasoline and then tossing a lighter in at him. Like, yeah, it's an intense way to go. But yeah, overall, it's just, and also Dante, apparently, Emiko is working for him, which makes me wonder, is she actually Oliver's sister, or did she just decide to take on this persona because that's how she wanted to gain Oliver's trust? I don't know. I'll be curious to find out if everything she said was the truth or not. It might not be. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, most of it is good. Like, I like the main story with this new bad guy coming in, and a lot of the stuff going on with how he's manipulating people and the amount of power he has, and now Emiko's involved. It's just Felicity is such an annoyance. It drags it all down. Like, it honestly makes it difficult to watch because of the amount of times that she just gets away with all of her BS. And it pisses me off every time. And it doesn't seem to be stopping. So, Yeah. That's it for this episode. On to the next one. Now, episode 15, Training Day. This one took a little bit of a downturn, just as far as quality is concerned. First of all, the whole Felicity can do no wrong praise crap is still going on, full force. I swear, it's almost like every other line that is directed at her is some sort of praise about how great she is, how awesome she is, how badass she is, how just just all of it. Even in the future, when Mia was talking, I thought about this. Even when Mia was talking to, like, the group about her, it was still just like, it was just like with this filled with praise. Like, oh yeah, she's definitely not dead. Like, I know. And I'm just, I don't know. I'm getting sick of it. I'm getting to the point where I don't know what needs to happen, but something needs to happen to where people just stop treating Felicity like she is the greatest thing to ever walk the earth, because she's not. She's hypocritical. She's annoying. She's just the worst. She really is. And the show treats her like she's not the worst. And it's probably because of all the fans of her. They're like, oh yeah, you tell them, Felicity. You tell them why they're wrong. Oh, she's so cute. We love her. Anyways, no, but this one, I felt like it was a missed opportunity, because the team has to start working with the SCPD, which they already have been, but now it's like they have to start working within the parameters of what the SCPD do. So they have to act like an actual cop. But of course, they're not cops. They don't normally operate like cops. They go in with a plan, and they go in with a set team that they all work together with. And of course, Pollard is the one putting all of these restrictions on him, which I still think is stupid, because she let them join the SCPD because she saw how it could work. She saw the opportunity for them to get the job done while being within the confines of the law. So, she gets to keep her numbers up because crime is going down with the help of these, they're no longer vigilantes now. They are working with the SCPD, but it makes her look smart because she's the one that recruited them in. She's the one that gave them the chance to work for the SCPD. But then she does this. She restricts them. She makes it to where they can't do what they want to do. And it's almost like she was trying to make it difficult specifically so they'd want to quit. But that doesn't make sense for her, because they're getting the job done. They're doing things that the cops are unable to do because they're a step above. They're not just normal people. Like, they've got extensive training. So, I don't know. It's dumb to me that Pollard is so against them working with the cops, and it took one of her close friends, them finding out that he's apparently been selling this poisonous bullets. Like, that's what it took for her to finally be leveraged to the point where she's like, okay, fine, you guys can have your own vigilante team. So, I don't know. It's annoying whenever sometimes some characters are stupid for no other reason than they just want to be that mean, like, overseeing figure, and just like, oh, no, you don't do what you want to do. I'm going to be in charge of you. You stop that. And that's all their character is just that. So anyways, that being said, though, I do wish I could have seen them, if they were going to do something like this where they have to work more alongside the cops. I wish we could have seen that more. And not necessarily them being restricted like we saw in this episode, but just them working alongside other cops. Maybe they get to know some of the cops on the force and they start to work with them directly. But then ultimately Pollard does try to overstep her bounds in an episode like this. And so then instead, now they're their own little task force. That would have been a better way to handle it, instead of they're just kind of showing up when needed for 2 or 3 episodes, and then all of a sudden this one. They need to be cops. They have to wear the right uniform. They have to stay within the confines of the law. You can't do anything illegal. You have to follow everything by the protocols and the books. Just out of nowhere. And then it just ends in the same episode. It's like, I feel like they missed an opportunity for them to actually gain the trust of the cops and work together with the cops more, And instead it was just one episode where they bicker with the cops, and they catch the bad guy at the end. There's no real resolution other than they get their own task force. But now the cops are going to be like, oh, well, the task force is doing all this stuff, but we're just sitting here doing nothing. So, I don't know, it doesn't feel like they've really solved anything. Of course, the show will probably make it to where the cops don't really care, but, that's just bad show writing. But yeah, so I just feel like this was a missed opportunity. I feel like this could have been a nice build-up to this point. Instead, it was just all of a sudden out of nowhere, all these restrictions, and then they're gone in the same episode. Aside from that, we also see Laurel tracks down who's the one that killed Diaz, and it turns out to be Emiko. So she now knows that she's not really on Team Arrow's side. It's funny because Emiko's just like, but why would they believe you, Black Siren? Well, because they've trusted Laurel a lot more recently. Like, I'm sure Oliver's not going to want to hear it because it's his sister. But Felicity, I mean, she doesn't have any real connection with Emiko. So if Laurel went and talked to her and said, hey, look, I went and talked to this guy at Slabside. He's somebody that Oliver worked with at Slabside to stay safe. And he said that Emiko is the one that killed Diaz. And it wasn't anything to, oh yeah, Diaz is killed because that's what he deserved. It was to keep him from talking because she's working for Dante. And I think Laurel might have pieced that together, maybe. Or maybe she realized she's working for somebody else but doesn't know who. So I don't know. I thought Emiko's threat there at the end about, oh, why would they believe a word you say? It doesn't really feel right because they have started trusting her more. They have started to believe what she's doing more. And Emiko, like, only Oliver and Renee are really close with her. Everybody else hasn't really had a chance to get to know her and find out if they can trust her to begin with. So I feel like it might create a little bit of divide in the team. Like, when Laurel shares this, which she should. If she chickens out because, oh yeah, they won't believe me. I just don't understand why they would believe me over her. That would just be stupid. I could see them doing that, though. But yeah, I don't know. I'm confused as to that line because the way they set it up and the way Laurel looked at the end made it feel like we should believe that too. Like, oh guys, there's no way they're going to trust Laurel over Emiko. And I just don't believe that. I don't see that as a problem, but we'll see what happens. Probably be something stupid that happens. And then aside from that, the flash forward stuff going on, we do see that William and Mia are working together more, and they just there are two opposite sides of the coin showing up at this place to try to get a tape recorder or tape player or whatever to get a message from Felicity. So, yeah, it's about what I've come to expect from the flash forwards this season. It's just stuff happening. And a lot of it just, we're finding out what's going to happen in the future. Which means there's less tension about what's happening now. Because we know that Felicity makes it. We know that Dinah makes it. We know that Renee makes it. We know that Zoe and William make it. We know that Mia's going to be okay. You see the problem? These characters are literally characters that put themselves on the line day after day. And now we have confirmation that at least three of the main cast, like as far as Team Arrow are concerned, are going to make it okay. Now, of course, Oliver and Diggle, still up in the air. But, I feel like these flash forwards are just ruining some of the tension in some of these scenes. If any of them, like when Dinah got her throat slashed, I remember thinking, oh, that's probably how she got the mark. But I remember also thinking, but she's going to be okay. Like, if there were no flash forwards and all of a sudden Stanley snuck up behind her and slashed her throat like that, I would have been shocked. And then, of course, Curtis would have come in, healed her throat, and be like, okay, whew. But because we see her in the future, no reaction. I'm just like, oh, okay. So they're going to save her. Good. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still not really a fan of these flash forwards. They're still not doing much for me. The story is okay, I guess. Like, I'm kind of intrigued to see what the point of it is. But the more that it goes on, it doesn't really feel like there's a point tying it to what's happening in the present. It feels like it's just they needed extra story. So they said, I know, let's just flash forward and have some people in the future doing stuff, and that'll be our extra story, so that way we don't have to pad out an extra long runtime or something like this is basically the padding that they needed to fit this extra time into a season. Instead of coming up with something new and inventive for currently, it's like no, let's just tell a story in the future, and that'll be the time that we need. So, all in all, I mean, it's still not as bad as some of the seasons have been, but Felicity is definitely bringing down the season a lot. More so than before, because originally it was the season wasn't good, and then Felicity just made it about. I mean, it couldn't get much worse. Felicity just made it that little bit worse. But now that the season's actually been pretty good, I'm intrigued on what they're doing. There's a lot of action, a lot of stuff that's going on. I'm like, this is pretty interesting. Felicity's just making it worse. And that's disappointing because it could be one of the best seasons of Arrow since season 2. And instead, it's slowly dropping back down into what I've come to expect from the show. And that's frustrating. So anyways, with all that being said, though, that's it for these 3 episodes. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. We can talk about, discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Arrow reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.